What's up, everyone? It is Natalia Marin, and welcome to this week's episode of Does It Work? It's a show where I, your lovely host, will evaluate if cultural phenomenons, government systems, psychological theories actually work. So in future episodes, we'll look at things like the Electoral College. That's coming up since it's election week next week. Also, this is your reminder to vote. Just vote. And it's important. So make sure to vote. And next week's episode, that's a little sneak peek will be about the Electoral College, in election season. Also, your reminder to vote. Voting's important, and you should do it. It's November 5th. For Arizona, my mom told me that your mail-in ballots, like if you want to mail them actually in, are due on October 29th, so tomorrow if you want to mail them in. But I also have read, oh my gosh, I'm spreading misinformation. You can kind of put the ballot in as long as you get it in before November 5th, or on November 5th by 5 p.m., I think. I'll fact-check this later. This episode is so fact-checked, and of course when I'm spreading information about voting. But yes, make sure to vote, and look it up for your state. Be a smart voter, look up the legislation, and make sure to do it. Okay, that's my soapbox. Now getting back to the episode. So today our episode surrounds birth order theory. Okay, so I think that's kind of like, I think people understand that even by the title of it, but if you don't, I'll get right into it. But before I dive in, thank you so much for listening. I hope your morning is good. I hope you're doing well. So yeah, let's dive right in. Grab your coffee, sit on the couch, listen in to my hype. I was going to say relaxing voice, but I don't know if I'm super relaxing. But to get you hyped for the morning. Okay, so birth order theory. Birth order theory is the idea that there is an order in which that the order in which a child is born affects their personality and development. So the theory was first introduced by Austrian psychotherapist Alfred Adler in the 1920s. That's, I didn't know it was around for this long. I was doing the research and I was like, dang, that's kind of old, 1920s. Alfred Adler, if you ever look up anything about birth order theory, it's all about him. Like, he is the superstar of birth order theory. He came up with it, of course, but everything is like, Alfred. So go Alfred in the 1920s. So if you don't know what that means, it just means like eldest siblings are supposed to be something, and then it's kind of determining where you're in the birth order of which your parents have you, like first to second, third, and fourth, will determine your personality. So I'm going to dive right into like what is kind of like the, not stereotypes, but like the typical traits that Adler and other people will say about these type of children. Oldest child. So if you're the firstborn child, you have had your parents all to yourself. So they're kind of like more specialized and kind of like, I don't know, pay more attention to you because you're their firstborn. That's important. But it's your parents' first time being parents, so they tend to dole out a ton of attention towards you. They're also extra careful when it comes to all aspects of child rearing, so from bumps and bruises to early education, so everything that involves with having a new baby. So eldest children benefit from all of this attention. And I know all the eldest children listening out there, my sister and my friends, yes, don't let this go to your head. We get it. You guys are awesome. And super smart. Okay. But they also experience this. Your parents might seem stricter with you, often as an example. Oh no, my computer's dying. Not actually dying, it just like force quit. Of course I charged my computer before. Oh no, it's dying. It's okay, we'll riff. So basically, if you're the oldest child, you tend to demonstrate leadership skills. Maybe you're a leader in the workplace or rising to the top of your industry, which, that's very important. There's a Forbes quote that we'll get into later that like most of the top 500 Fortune businesses are first children. We get it. If you can't tell by me talking, I'm not a firstborn. And I think that you can kind of tell from all of that. Oh no, my computer's completely dead. Don't worry, we'll keep going. This is a fun one to talk about, so I can kind of just yap about it. I'm not a firstborn at all. I'm a secondborn. And I think if you are into if you actually know me, if you're listening to this and you don't know me, I would really wonder what birth order you think I am. I think I'm very much a younger child. If you know me, you're like, yep, I can hear my friends and parents and sister nodding. But yeah, so birth order obviously is that. Okay, pulling it up on the phone. We're making this work. So middle child. Also, if you don't know, I have my computer out all the time and my phone out because I'm always checking the facts that I do. And also, if you want to fact check me or look at any of the sites or websites or anything that I look up, totally do that. It's on my YouTube channel. You can see all the links that I use because I use like actual psychological journals and different stuff like that. So, and then some of these like articles are extremely fascinating. Okay, let's go into middle child. So it's a stereotype that if you're the middle child, you're a peacekeeper. But there seems to be a grain of truth behind this saying. So a lot of middle children are probably like they're in the middle, so they're a peacekeeper, and because you lack the title of being the oldest or the youngest, you seem to carve out your niche for the family and the family dynamics, and you tend to enjoy negotiation and compromise. You can often relate to people of different ages with ease. So you may be competitive with your older sibling, or you might behave more rebelliously. I know that that's definitely a thing with middle children, that they kind of just like, not that they act out, but I know definitely like an Instagram or like a TikTok kind of social media thing is like that middle child don't get attention, so they're kind of like the forgotten child. I love all you middle children. I don't think you're the forgotten child. Continuing on. The youngest child. Okay, so the baby of the family, you tend to take one of two paths of developing your personality. This is according to Adler. So the first path is a clear journey to success. Ooh, that's fun. Sorry. Some of these sources that I read the first sentence and then I'm like, okay, I'll read the description later. I didn't read this description. Okay, so first path, this is from Adler's. The first path is a clear journey to success. Of course it is, because, all younger children are successful. So you try to excel in everywhere, often becoming the go-to person in the family. Young children can also be avoidant if they lack confidence to drive or excel. Oh, okay. I don't know if I lack confidence. So I think I'm the first one, obviously. So you might have the freedoms your older siblings don't have. I definitely know that's true. As your parents' roles become more relaxed and your parents can be more hands-off with you, you're usually assured of your place in the family and can be very creative, rebellious, and outgoing. Ooh. I think that makes sense. And that's all I'll say on that. Okay, for only child, I don't forget about you guys. Of course, you guys don't have siblings, but you definitely are influenced by your birth order. Guys, can we get a round of applause? I'll round of applause. Everyone, please round of applause. My computer is back to working. Woo! I don't have to read off my phone. The camera viewers just saw me looking down for the past. Okay, we're back to the computer. Yay! Okay. Only child. If you're an only child, you've been surrounded by adults since birth. That's not to say you weren't socialized with other children, though kindergarten, the playground, or school, but your time at home socialized with parents and other adults, mimicking their behavior and becoming small people, in quotation marks. That's kind of funny. Your parents might be overprotective of you, leading you to become dependent on your parents for support. You're used to sharing clothes, space, parental attention with siblings, and they can make you intelligent and creative, but also stubborn in your own set ways. Okay, I honestly think that makes so much sense. I think that birth order makes a ton of sense in the way that if you were, depending on what order you are for your birth, I think that you can kind of relate to those. I definitely know, I mean, my sister is a super, super older sister. Like she really fits into that stereotype archetype, I guess. It's not a stereotype. And I live with two older siblings, an only child, and then I am the youngest. And I can tell you for sure, we all very much fit into our roles. And I met some middle children, and I think they fit into their roles as well. So I think just from a looking outward perspective on birth order theory, I think that almost everyone believes that it's true. Like that this is like 100% like, yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, logically, that makes sense. I think it makes sense why it makes sense. Like I don't think anyone's like, birth order theory, that like I think that it's I don't know. I think it makes sense. And I think that everyone knows that it makes sense. But here are some challenges. So I think what I was trying to say is everyone knows it on a surface level, obviously. But do we know it on a scientific topic, or like what Adler is trying to argue in these things? So birth order theory is actually a very highly debated scientific topic. So the research that has been produced has very inconsistent findings, which is kind of due to a lot of different factors, like there's a lot of things that contribute to your personality. It's not just your birth order. I don't think that anyone is thinking just your birth order. But like genetics, life experience, parenting, there's no official medical or psychological diagnosis for birth theory or related ideas like oldest child syndrome. We'll get into that a lot later. But yeah, I know that a lot of older children do believe that and do kind of fit into that syndrome in high quotation marks. So there is little evidence to support that birth order theory is actually, it's not scientifically proven. Well, okay, basically, let me get into it because it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of methodological errors, and if you don't know what that means, you probably do. Probably not like me that looks up every single thing, but it's just relating to the systems of methods that they use to conduct the studies. So here is, I'm opening this article from Time because it was really interesting. Because there's been a ton, and I mean a ton, of studies that are testing if these birth order actually has a big impact, and there's a ton of books about it. There's so much stuff. But the thing is, in the methods that they use is kind of weird. Like, a lot of the methods are not proven, but like the one of the studies that we'll get into later kind of was talking about how here I found it. It's a 1968 study, and it compared later-borns with firstborns, and they are less likely to participate in dangerous sports because of fear of physical injury, which I thought that was interesting. And the thing is, how we use these, studies is that a lot of it depends on the parents kind of evaluating people's behavior. So, like, let's say we did a study with me and my sister. I have an older sister, if y'all didn't know from the amount of talking about her. And my parents and I, growing up, they kind of like evaluate us, but they're also told that younger siblings tend to be, more creative, more outgoing, more relaxed, that's a thing, or like, and then older siblings tend to be more strict, more schedule-driven, oriented, and kind of more like that role. If they're told that, the parents are probably the parents have bias, and a lot of these studies rely on parents evaluating their children. So I think it makes sense if you can see how some of these, like, there's a lot of errors in who's evaluating who, and there's not been a super well done, let's say, study that proves true statistical significance. And if you didn't take stats in high school like I did, statistical significance just means that there's enough of a difference, or there's enough of something that it is significant in the study. So I don't know, I didn't take stats. I haven't taken stats for a year. I barely take math. But it's basically just proving that it's more than nothing is kind of what statistically significant is. That there's more than nothing that is different about this. It was kind of similar to what we talked about in the placebo effect episode, I'm pretty sure. If you want to go back to listen to that, it's kind of, I love that episode because it's kind of basis for all the does it work type stuff. But yeah, so that's a lot of the studies that have been conducted. So here, let me talk about this specific study. So in the 1980, a study was conducted with 170 female and 142 male undergraduates, and they showed lower anxiety and high ego in firstborns as measured by Houthworth Personality Questionnaire. At the times, however, these investigators used questionable methods, like I was saying. For example, members of the family were often asked to assess themselves in extroversion, so like extrovertive qualities, openness to experiences, see, like, this is a thing I'm not going to be able to say, even though I know how to say it. A study that you can look up. Let me look up how to say this word. I feel so funny, but what is this? How do you say this? I don't know.
Customize my car insurance, and I saved hundreds.
don't know if you heard that. That's probably a YouTube video playing. It was an ad, whatever. Going back to it. We get sidetracked on these episodes so frequently. It's me. So they tested openness to experience, tolerance, and neuroticism. And the catch is these surveys were conducted at only one point in time. So older siblings were therefore not only the firstborn, but simply just older. So it's been known that adolescents become more, oh my gosh, it's this word again. This word means wishing to do what is right, especially to do one's work or duty well. It's consciousness. It's consciousness. It's consciousness is what been trying to say this whole time. I guess I just didn't know that's how you spelled it. And so it's long been known that adolescents develop more consciousness as they age. That kind of makes sense. This trend could account for a large part of this results. So test subjects may also subconsciously incorporate the cliche of the dutiful older siblings vibes and the cosmopolitan later borns in their evaluation, and could also have thus brought those expected results to have those results as well. Which I don't know. I think that this all makes a lot of sense, because it's kind of like if you're conditioned to be like, oh, you're an older sibling, so you have to take care of these people, you're kind of going to develop into that. Also, I do think it has to do with birth order, but whatever. So there's not a lot of studies, which I find fascinating, actually. Why are there no more studies? That it's just kind of a hard thing to test, I think. But yeah, so that's kind of the challenges with it. However, there is a lot of people that fervently believe in birth order theory, and Adler also introduced the concept of a family constellation. So it's the idea that the dynamics that form between family members and how these interactions all play a part in shaping individual development. So it's kind of just, that kind of makes sense that depending on how the personalities of your family intertwine, that's kind of how your personality ends up, which nature versus nurture makes a lot of different sense. But definitely there's a lot of sorry, this picture on this website is so funny of just all the different children. But yeah, so there's a lot of different things. This is what I wanted to get into, because this is I talk about this a lot, but the TikTokification or the social media kind of interpretation of these theories, which I just find fascinating, and what they take from these theories. We can talk forever about what qualities fit into each of the siblings, and I think that they definitely have some merit. And you can definitely look them up a lot later. But I wanted to talk about this more because I think that this is interesting. So there was a whole thing on TikTok that kind of that kind of went viral, that was talking about how birth order affects relationships. And so, which I think that kind of makes sense, but it was saying how if you're an oldest sibling, you should probably have a relationship with a younger sibling, and if you're a younger sibling, it's good for an older sibling, that kind of stuff. And this expert is Dr. Jennifer Hardstein. She's a family psychologist, and she's cool, I guess. But she was talking about this whole thing with this magazine, which I thought was really interesting, about what her takeaways from this whole thing was firstborns are natural leaders, like we had said. Middleborns can adapt to any situation. And then lastborns have way more leeway in life, and they, yeah, I guess that's her takeaway. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's her takeaway. And then only children strive for perfection. So siblings that pair well in a relationship, obviously not the siblings that are together, but if you're an only child, whatever. So it says that firstborns and lastborns are a good match. So the idea of opposite attracting definitely rings true here. So firstborns, since they're necessarily taking care of others, being in control, creating scenarios for success. Lastborns feel at home because they're usually more dependent, which I think that makes sense, since they've kind of had, they've been the baby their whole life. And then firstborns also do well with middle children, which also is like, because the middle children are more flexible and outgoing, and then the older children can be more of like a stable force. But a lot of the siblings that butt heads in relationships seem to be two firstborns that are in a relationship together that may have trouble compromising, since they're usually like the leader of the family making decisions. And a firstborn, this one I kind of found was interesting. A firstborn and an only child tend to have difficulties in relationships because you have two opinionated, self-reliant people, since only children are more, I guess, independent. And then the last matchup that can be problematic is two lastborns, so two babies of the family, because it's too chaotic of energy. And I found this TikTok clip, and I don't think I can play it out loud for you due to guidelines of I don't want to get into any copyright issues for Blaze, but I will link it on my YouTube channel because it's really, really fascinating about how this psychologist, she talks about a lot about how that the theory depends on what your birth order position is. Obviously, that makes sense, but she says where a lot of TikTokers miss is that hold on, where is this? Sorry, the clip is playing and I'm trying to read the captions of the clip. So it's not simply a position of where you're born just because you're the firstborn. That doesn't make you the eldest. So kind of saying that, like, even though that you're the firstborn, that doesn't mean that you're, like, the leader of the family. Or that, like, if your firstborn sibling, let's say, like, this scenario, this is what I was thinking of. So if you have, like, your family has like 4 kids, but the firstborn is like way older than y'all, like that the firstborn is literally like, I don't know, maybe like 30 by the time that all the other 3 kids are like people meaning like that they're above 10 and like have ideas, then that probably means that the second will also assume like the eldest child position, since they are growing up as the oldest of their 2 other siblings. So that's kind of what the psychologist was saying, which I think is kind of interesting, because I think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so you should listen to that clip. It'll be linked on my YouTube. But other factors that influence birth order or that influence your personality is like gender, age gaps, all that kind of stuff. So let's go into like a conclusion. My conclusion of this. I think it would be wrong of me to say that I don't think that birth order theory is real. I 100% think it's real. I don't know if I think it's real in like every single scenario, as like nothing is real in every single scenario, but birth order theory, definitely, if you buy into it, then it's real. Like my sister, she's very like older sister vibes and very protective and very leader and schedule driven, very type A is the one that's like really type A. Is that the one that's, yeah. She has a very type A personality, within schoolwork and stuff like that. So she definitely feels that. And then I do think I feel more of like the creative, free personality in our family. But I think that there's also a lot of things that go into that. We both were raised in different, I was more raised, I think, in my values when I lived in Canada, and maybe she was more raised when she lived in her values in Texas. So that kind of goes into that too. We moved a lot. We were one family unit. We just moved a lot. But so we're also 4 years apart, if that requires context for anyone that needs it. But I think that has a lot to do with it, and kind of like the morals that are shaped around you. I don't know if it's definitely, I mean, science says no. Science says that there's not really anything that's super, super proven. Science as a whole. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, I think people who are kind of who they are, and they're just going to be who they are based on their personality and genetics. But I do think birth order plays a role. Is it like every single older child is the same? Maybe not, but I do think it plays a role, and I think that I know a ton of people that believe that like this is the Mecca, like this is it, which that makes sense to me, guys. I understand, but so yeah, that's my opinion. Feel free to comment on the Instagram post that I posted and say your opinion on this. I would love to hear it. I bet I know a few of my friends and family's opinions. But yes, so we've reached the final segment of this episode. It's called Works for Me, and it's where my unscientific, unresearched thing that has been working for me recently. And to be completely honest and transparent with y'all, because what am I to do if not be transparent with y'all? I could not think of one, and I've been thinking about this for a while. I do pre-think these episodes, and I've been thinking about this specifically. I can't think of one, and I kind of wanted your help. So on Instagram, if you go to Instagram right now, the show's Instagram at Does It Work Show, or if you want to DM the Instagram, or if you have my number, you can text me. Something that has been working for you recently. It doesn't have to be like a theory. It doesn't have to be anything, but something unscientific, unresearched thing that has been working for you. I just posted the Instagram story, so I want to hear your tips, shortcuts, and hacks that make your life easier. I will read them out next episode, obviously anonymous, but maybe I want some tips in life. I want to hear what y'all have to say. I also just like to have audience participation. I want to know you guys. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you weren't too offended when I read what each of the birth order was for you. I think it makes sense. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Remember to follow me on Instagram at NataliaMarin _, and the show on Instagram at Does It Work Show. Participate in the little thing I posted on the story. It's posting right now. You can DM the Instagram of the show. You can DM me. I don't know. Talk to me. Tell me your tips. I'll read them out next time, and maybe they'll help everyone. So these episodes will be on YouTube later, so make sure to look at them at YouTube, at Does It Work Show on YouTube, also in the link of the Instagrams. I'll provide all the links to everything that I use in the description. Go watch that TikTok. It's interesting, by the psychologist. He's also Irish and has a really thick Irish accent, so that's always fun. But yeah, so thank you again for listening. I'll see y'all next time, and goodbye for now. Hold on, let me cue up a good song. Let me think of a song. Because I always want to leave you guys with a good song. Here, I'll cue up a great song. So bye for now, and I'll see you next Monday, where we'll discuss the Electoral College. Make sure to vote. It's super important. And yeah, have a great week. Vote.